Good evening. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting, February 25th, 2019 at 6:30. We'll start off the meeting by designated voters as of right now: Pam Sanderson, Justin Miller, Brendan DiMatteo, and myself, Matt Fowler. Has everybody had a chance to look at and read over the minutes? Are there any changes, discussion, or motion?
Do we all have page 9? And is that was the one that had it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The copier probably sucked the page in and be on the toes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I have a motion. Is there any discussion?
Do you want a second?
Entertain a second, and then discussion.
Right.
I'll
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. At this point, we're going to continue case 1810, and I will hand the board over to Pam Sanderson, the vice chair.
Call forward the alternate first, or go forth with the continuance request?
I'm sorry.
Procedural, call forth the alternate first, or go forth with the continuance request?
He had, yes, I would have him sit at the table. He has been duly sworn in as a member for this case.
Okay, so call forth Curtis
Nallard. Is that correct?
Nallard.
At least I thought I was pronouncing it correctly.
It's been a couple of years.
Okay, when last we met on January 28th, we were at the point of coming to a possible vote, and there was some discussion about added research needing to be done and information needing to be looked up, and also opportunity for the applicant to provide more information. So we left it at that point where we were going into vote. And I see tonight we have a letter requesting continuance. We are at present a 4-member voting board this evening. Curtis has the ability to vote on this continuance request. There are a couple of options and alternatives that we need to just broach forth on this so we understand procedure. If a vote to continue comes forth with a motion and a second, if the continuance is denied, then it goes to vote this evening. As you have approved having the 3-member board hear your case prior to this. So if the continuance is denied, we go to the vote. And this is on the individual request to divide the frontage to, what was it, 125 feet and a 19.21 feet. The 125, I haven't got the exact.
Yeah, 19.21.
19.21, and the other one's 125.
Even here.
125 even. So that is one alternative, or one scenario. Second scenario is that a motion to continue could be made, seconded, and a continuance could be granted, although we do not have a time or date for such a continuance to happen. It would just be hanging out there in the future. Another scenario is that the applicant could request to remove, what's our terminal?
Withdraw.
Withdraw the application at this point. In possibility of a future 5-member board or a future permanent board member where we would be 4 instead of 3. That is a possibility. So those are your scenarios. So what I would ask you in lieu of your letter here, do you wish us to consider a continuance? Or would you like to talk amongst yourself for a second? And
I think we had requested a continuance until a time that we could find an alternate member, which Linda did. So we're fine with proceeding tonight if we could.
Madam Chair, I would say that if you act on a continuance, the first thing would be that it has to be to a day and time certain. It cannot be kind of out there dangling. And if you do proceed tonight, I would suggest you ask Mr. Nallad whether or not he's comfortable to proceed tonight, and with the idea that whether or not you're going to, it opens up some additional options, whether you would go back to square one, or if the 3 people who were here that night determined that they had heard the case and that they had that the case was ready to be voted on, then you have the option of voting. But if it's rather difficult because you can't just bring somebody on unless he feels totally confident that he has read the minutes, that he's familiar enough with the case to go forward. It puts the board at somewhat of a disadvantage because, in fairness to Curtis or anyone who sat in that chair, reading minutes is not the same as being here. The other thing I would caution you on, because you have heard the case and we're at the point of closure, that essentially to rehear it all over again is more or less rehearing the case, which would be away from standard procedure, that it would be appealed in order, because there's a rehearing process for the zoning board. And that rehearing process is based on an appeal to the original decision.
And no
So we want
decision's
to be
been
clear
made.
that we're not really muddying the waters.
Okay.
Question.
I will entertain a question.
I would like to, if I could, at least provide a summary of the project, and then maybe have an opportunity just to go through the 5 questions.
Actually, we've
No.
already done that, and that would be going into that rehearing, a hearing that we haven't moved on and have not voted on, because we were already at the point where those have been read and put into the minutes. So I think the preliminary question here is, and before I ask you about whether you want to go through with the continuance or not, do you feel ready to vote this evening?
So, I guess, a couple questions that you could possibly clear up for me. I think looking at this page 9 of the minutes, there was some question in my mind of whether or not the board had gone into deliberations and closed comment from the applicant. And then, are we reopening it in that closed state?
We are at the, not in closed, we were
Okay.
at the point of closure
Okay,
and did not step over that line.
okay.
That's my interpretation of it.
So, I'm comfortable moving forward with what I've read in the minutes and how I've reviewed the case.
You feel you've had time?
I do feel I've had time to do that. the law is in place for the applicant to withdraw his application at any time.
It is.
If he feels he's made a mistake in a decision in how this has been presented or how this has been argued, so that he can start fresh.
Right.
The proper way to start fresh is to withdraw and reapply.
It is.
So we are where we are in the process, and we would be starting from the point it got left off.
Right.
Not starting back at the beginning.
Correct.
So if the applicant would like to start at the beginning, the proper procedure for doing that would be for him to withdraw.
It would be. So this is our situation, is at this point, we are ready to move forward. So you could withdraw your request for continuation, and we won't go into that discussion on continuation. The other alternative that is still hanging out there is the withdrawal, which brings it forth at a later date. So at this point, do you wish to withdraw your continuance request? Or would you, if you'd like some time to talk, we can wait. It's an important decision.
Linda, the question I had asked in an email, would I have to resubmit the whole application with the fees and the abutter notices and
My understanding would be that if you withdrew, you could essentially photocopy what you had before, submit it before the March 1 deadline on Friday, and you would be heard in March. Right, Curtis is agreeing to stay on for this case, and you would have 4. There was a possibility we could get 5, but we can't guarantee that. You would be required to pay all the out-of-pocket costs, the public notice, and the abutters. You could ask for a waiver from the application fee, but that would have to go to the Board of Selectmen because they're the only ones that can waive that. But you would be required to pay the out-of-pocket cost. The other option would be if these folks decide to continue tonight, then there wouldn't, I agree completely with Curtis, there would not be the opportunity to present any additional information or go back over what was previously heard, because you did state at the very beginning of the meeting that you wanted to go forward with 3, and we're willing to do that. So,
so a continuance really won't do anything.
No. It wouldn't give you
So that's-
a rehearing. It would,
That's not how I understood it.
unless you had something new that you were bringing forth tonight. Which I did give you that opportunity, that if you had anything new to bring forward.
So as I listened to this, right, and I'm trying to take all this in, and I thought how you
yeah,
read
I
it-
can't even
Oh,
hear
I'm
without the
sorry.
mic, so you have to.
So that if you withdrew, you came back again, because the whole thing would be whether or not you heard the whole situation or not. The only way you could do that is if we withdrew. Was that, did I understand that right?
That's correct. So if you withdrew,
Yeah,
you can reapply, all the same paperwork, the same argument, but once you withdrew, without prejudice, you're starting from scratch
yep,
at 0. And then if there's, I've agreed to be here, so if there's 4 of us here and you wanted a 5th, the opportunity then is, do you want to move forward with 4 or do you want to wait for 5? You can then at that point say, I would like to continue until there's 5.
yep,
And the town would put forth best effort to have 5 board members.
yep,
And then when you start, all the board members are here.
right.
In the situation we're at now, we can't go back to the start.
Right.
We're where we are.
And
So if we withdraw, it just starts the whole process over again, versus where we're at right now. If you withdraw the continuance, then they can't hear the whole thing again. Because, again, he's read the minutes and he feels comfortable with making a decision.
And we can't continue to wait for a 5th member because we have no idea when that would happen.
Right. Yeah, I would like to ask to withdraw at this time.
Do we need to motion on the withdrawal?
Yes, you do. You need to make a motion to accept his request to withdraw this
Right.
case, and I would suggest that you accept it without prejudice,
Oh, absolutely.
and that gives him the right to come back and
So-
reapply.
I will entertain a motion to accept the withdrawal of the application.
I second.
Oh, I have to get
I'll make that motion.
motion by Curtis, second. Any discussion? Are we clear of what's happening here?
Yeah, I'm clear, but we're not waiting for 5 members. We're gonna go
No,
on what
it's-
we have next when we get the application.
Yeah,
We're going on how
they
many
will-
people we have.
They will
go from
reapply,
there.
and,
Okay.
and Curtis has agreed that he will, if we are still at a 3-man board, he would come
Mhm.
forth.
And just so I'm clear, is if at that point, there's 4 voting members here, but they wish to have a full board of 5, would they have the opportunity to request that, or they're stuck with the 4? But what they gain by that is that they're moving from beginning.
Starting over.
But, so will they ever have an opportunity for a full 5 if the town can find it?
If the town could find it, they would, if we can get another person. But I think it's important, and we can't tell them how or when to apply, but if they do not want their case heard by 3 or 4, then they should state that in the very beginning when you apply. And then we can say we don't have that, we can't process that now. Or you can say I'm comfortable with 4, and as long as we get a confirmation of 4 people, we'll put it on the docket and process it. And then it would start over as a new application.
And I also think that by extenuating circumstances, currently as we sit, we are a board of 5, but due to a reclusal, we are at 4. So technically speaking, we're 5 at this moment. But
Well,
a
right,
reclusal,
but I mean,
reclusal
5
is in
to-
there. So a 5 is not a unforeseen
Right, we would
possibility.
need either a former member who is willing to sit in for a recused person or an alternate member who could then sit in, one or the other.
All right, so does that answer?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion on the withdrawal? No, I will entertain the vote. Then, all those in favor of accepting the withdrawal request?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed, so it is a vote of 4 complete to accept the withdrawal and bring forth and work with the town in the future on going forth with your plans. And good luck with it, and it was absolutely no remorse at all. Yeah, there might be other ways to do it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for stepping in, Curtis.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
will be in touch if we
So,
have new
you want to
applications.
stick around? You want to stick around for old time's sake, or?
I think I was pretty sure when I signed that oath today, it was for that one case number. So,
No. Did you read the fine print?
I'd love to have you stay.
Unfortunately, for the
See?
board, it was that's what I asked for.
yeah.
But if you're willing
right.
to stay, I'll get the board to agree to full membership.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Back to you, Matt.
The swearing-in ceremony, the whole bit. We'll draw you into the picture.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
Thanks, Curtis.
Okay, at this point, I will yield back to Chairman Matt. And I will also try to find my little clip. I hate it when that happens.
All right. On to case 1811.
Here's my clip.
Kramus Lane, map 102, lot 9. Applicant would like to construct a single-family home and is requesting the following relief. Special exception, as specified in zoning ordinance, Article 6A, 5B, and Article 6A, 4B, the wetland setback. And a special exception in the zoning ordinance, 6A, 4A, wetland overlay district, and a variance to Article 4B4, Boundary line setback, applicant proposes to put the septic tank 11 feet from the boundary where 20 feet are required.
Alright. And after all that, if you would give me 2 seconds to relocate my minutes. And we were okay. So, all right, so we got the special exception, and the variance. In just 2 seconds, and I see
No.
where we were in the minutes.
No worries.
Because we did. Okay. All right, see, we had done the preliminary, just the introduction.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if
You refresh.
Yeah,
board
it's
just to
only gonna
refresh
take
our
5
memory a little
minutes.
bit.
So,
It's
yeah,
been a month.
so, and I don't remember where we left off either, so. My name's Tim Phoenix, I'm an attorney from Portsmouth, Hopeful Phoenix, Gormley and Roberts. I'm here with Corey Caldwell from MSC Engineers. They've done the technical work on this application. So what we have is this Cramish Lane property, which is 1.9 acres. In 2008, we got a variance to put this home, this proposed home, on a 1.9 acre lot where 2 acres was required. At the time, no other relief was necessary. Unfortunately, the owner who put in the, Corey's, you have this plan, but this is a colorized version, so the foundation, which is here, was put in. It's just been sitting there for all this time. Other business issues, family issues, led the owner to not be able to finish the home. The problem that has arisen as a result of that is that the wetland has migrated some, so that now the foundation and other proposed improvements in order to finish the house are within the wetland setback. And so we're here for special exceptions to allow specifically a 5.1 foot distance to a generator pad, which is behind the house. My thing's down here. There it is.
I keep wanting to chase it.
Yeah.
There you go,
Yeah,
there you go.
thank you, Corey.
That's it, okay,
That's-
generator pad,
Yep, and then 6.6 feet to the driveway turnaround, you see that little turnaround? In my submission last month, I had it as 13.5, that was a typographical error, it's actually 6.6
you
feet.
did correct that.
And then 20 feet's required, the existing foundation is 7.9 feet. So you've got the generator that's a little closer, the driveway's further away than the foundation. And then under section 4A, 4A, we need to get put in a septic tank and then run the line up the end of the lot through a small crossing of the wetlands to get to the upland for a leach field. It's pretty, as you can see, the lot's pretty tight. You've got the water on one side, the wetland on the other. There's only so many places you can put things. So then we also need a variance because the septic tank, which is located as far as possible from the wetlands, et cetera, is only 11 feet from the sideline where 20 feet is required. Of course, the septic tank will be buried. Nobody's going to see that. So we think, given the circumstances of this tight lot, that we are pretty, we've done the best we can to finish that foundation, take that foundation and turn it into a full house, complete with a septic system and a driveway. Corey may address shortly the Conservation Commission issues and other technical issues, but one of the issues they had mentioned was a gravel driveway. He's willing to stipulate to a gravel or porous pavement, some engineered porous driveway, so that will help alleviate any runoff issues. And also to follow best management practices with respect to the construction and work with the building department to make sure that silt fences are put up and whatnot, because we recognize that foundation is pretty close to the resource. So I can either have Corey address some of the technical things, I can go through the requirements, I can answer your questions. Mr. Chairman, how would you like to proceed?
I think we'll go right down the list, if it's okay with everybody else. We'll start off right with the special exception.
Okay, all right, I'll go through those.
Do you want-
For the
Were there
zoning
any
boards.
butters present this evening?
We did do that last time. I don't know if do we?
One of us spoke last time.
Yep. Do we necessarily, I mean, I guess,
Yeah, we'll open it up.
to be
for
fair,
abutters.
if there's any abutters present that did not get to speak last meeting and would like to speak this meeting,
Or they can speak again, too.
or you can speak again. Seeing no hands.
That never happens to me.
We'll go with the zoning ordinance.
All right, I'll
Ordinance.
go through the arguments, and as questions come up, Corey can address the
so-
conservation and whatnot.
We
So
are
the-
on, first one is, which one? The
6A, 5B, the wetlands.
setback. Gotcha.
So, the requirements for the special exception are, one, Conservation Commission review. You have their letter of, I don't remember the date, September 4, 2018, so that's met. Dredging, filling, or other alterations designed to minimize adverse impacts to the wetlands and its setback, including placement outside the wetland overlay district. So because of the unique shape of the land and the location of the wetlands and the water, the shoreline setbacks and placement of the septic tank, there's really no other place we can put anything reasonably, other than the driveway's got to go where the house is built, or the foundation is. We wanted to keep the septic tank outside of that buffer, and we need to cross that little area of wetlands at the end to get to the leach field. That's actually 4A. And we'd like to have a generator. So there really, we think, is no reasonable location for all of these improvements than where they are. So we meet the requirement to minimize adverse impacts as much as we can.
Can I ask a question there?
Sure.
Why do you have to have a generator pad?
Well, I guess
And there.
it's not required, but, you know, certainly the owners are not there all the time. It's not a year-round home. So in inclement weather in the winter, if there's a storm, we lose power, it would be nice to be able to keep the house heated.
It's lumped in with everything else, so if conceding on the driveway, being permeous, it's just looking at this generator pad as also being impervious, and also location of it, so
Yeah.
I
okay.
probably
Yeah,
asked
yeah,
more questions on
I
that.
don't know whether Corey might have some ideas as to other locations. Yeah, more and more houses these days are having generators. We'd like to have it. It's a pretty, it's probably, 4x6 pad, thereabouts.
Yeah. The nice thing about the generator pad is, shown on that drawing in front of you, if you go out to the site, you can see there's a boulder wall that was installed back in 2007, 2008, and that wall is pretty much at the edge of the wetlands. What it does for this site is it really helps protect those wetlands because it's a physical barrier. We felt that the generator pad on the house side of that barrier was best. The generator has to be 10 feet from the house. So if we go this side, you know, we're close to the driveway, septic tank. We don't want to go here, we're closer to to Jenna's Pond. The best spot for it is really between that barrier and that house, in our opinion. So given that that wall is there, I think that's a pretty good buffer or delineated line between the house, the generator pad, and the wetland. So we felt it was the best spot for it.
I'm just gonna look at a photograph that I took of that you just said, so I know what you're talking about.
I had a question follow up on that. You just said the generator has to be 10 feet off the house. So I was at the site a couple times, and if you look right at that the foundation there on that side, I mean, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but if you go 10 feet, you're past that rock wall into the wetlands. Am I wrong? Do you get what I mean? Because I thought that concrete pad was going to be right up against the foundation. Because you're going to be right on that stone wall, if not over, into the wetlands.
That wall is about 10 feet from the house.
So you're going to be in the wetlands at that point. You're not going to have that 6 feet I mean, how far are you guys saying you are? Where is it?
The generator we have is
5.1 feet?
5.1 feet from the line.
So then that's
So does
going to be on the line now.
And I have an image here with the foundation and the rock wall. And there is a pink ribbon, a pink surveying tape on a shrub. I'm just wondering if that's the possible anticipated location of the generator pad.
No, it was a pink and black striped.
Pink at this distance.
Okay, that's probably the edge of wetland.
Okay, edge of wetland, all right. Because it's looking at the outcroppings of the building, and you've got, because of those two outcroppings, it's actually a shorter distance, don't you think, with the outcroppings of the foundation?
So you're talking about foundation to the wetland?
Yeah, I'm talking about the outcropping to the wetland, whether that is in fact more like 8 feet, 8.5 to 9 feet. Because it sticks way out.
The closest point is 7.9 feet.
7.9.
That's
7.9 feet from that
that bump out to the
that
wetlands.
bump out to the stone wall is 7.9 feet?
Correct.
So Corey, to follow up on that point, that means that generator pad is not 10 feet from the house.
Right, that generator pad that's shown here, really the best spot for it is slightly to the left of that, in that corner of the stone wall, right there.
I have a question. To get rid of all of this within the wetland setback and everything, can't you just move to the other side of the house?
With the generator?
Yeah.
We could.
I think that would take care of.
But there was a
I
reason.
think the
you
idea
did-
is the water, that's the water side of the house. I think that's the reason.
But with what we have here, my concern is with that generator pad right now, the location. If they were up for maybe moving it to a different spot.
Yeah, it can't go
would
there.
be the edge.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a mistake on our part. I think certainly we had talked to him about putting it on the other side. Personally, I think it shouldn't be on the water side, just aesthetically, but we could. But I think Corey's right, in that corner, we could get it 10 feet away and still be out of the wetland.
And just looking at it in terms of your abutters that did speak the last time, I think it was one gentleman, did comment about noise of generator. And so in looking at, placement and all that, I'm not familiar with operation of generators and all that, but is there any possibility that the generator could be further to the back of the property?
Back
I don't
meaning-
know, I don't know the logistics
Back
and all
meaning
that. Further away from the residences,
Back here?
I think she's talking about.
maybe a little further, but yeah, you've got that wide open expanse towards the back off of the wetland, and,
Yeah, this is all wetland here. This is
yeah,
all
so if you come up to the right back corner where your septic and all that was going, you get a concrete septic tank up there, is that what it is?
tank is right here.
That's there. What's up and back is the
The concrete drain.
way to the back of the property?
That's the leach field.
That's the leach field.
Right.
So I have a little knowledge about generators. A whole house generator, wired-in generator, is one of those things that if you've never had one, you don't miss it, but once you have one, you can't live without it. I know they test weekly for like 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, and of course they'd run, if there's a power outage, they'd run, and they're designed so when the power comes back on, they shut off. Usually it's a number of hours, usually it's in the middle of the winter when people are less likely to be outside anyway. I think they are getting quieter and quieter.
The propane ones are really quiet. I mean, you
We
never
have
know.
one right here.
But,
It runs this entire building,
oh, really?
and you don't
Yeah,
hear it.
But
we
just as far as it's still, in my opinion, it's still a luxury item.
Well,
And to even put it within that area, I mean, I think if we just move it to the other side, I mean, throw a bush in front of it or two. And keep it
All right,
out of
well,
that
if you would,
wetland
if,
shrubbery
I don't know
area.
what our measurement would be over there, Corey, are we more than 20 feet away from any?
I'm talking, I think the best spot is right there in that corner, where that wall corners. You're more than 20 feet from the wetland, you're more than 10 feet from the house, and it's still on the back side of the house, and you're just over 40 feet to the property line. So just a little bit to the left of where it's shown, right there, is really the best spot for it.
Well, if you can get it 20 feet from the wetland, then you
Yeah.
don't really need the relief anyway.
I was gonna say, if you can
Yeah.
get it, I mean, if we can get this without getting this special exception, that's ideally my goal with this generator pad.
Yeah,
Is like,
I get it.
you know, I mean, where it is now with what we have, that was my biggest concern.
The
was
only
that generator
drawback
pad.
to that is from the client's perspective, is it's right off the edge of the patio. So you've got the patio, the sitting area, and then your generator is right there, and that's why we tucked it back.
Hey,
Right.
it's dark, it's a hurricane, he's not sitting on the patio.
Can you
Yeah, the comfort of the patio person would not be within our jurisdiction.
We'll withdraw the generator request, and we'll find a place to put it that meets the 20 feet, if that's okay. And if we can't, I'll have to come back and say, can you let me put it here, and we'll find a better spot for it.
All right,
If
so
that makes sense.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask a question, just for clarification, because we keep referring to this. Is this the same scale as what they have in their packets?
Yes, exactly the same plan, just. this
Just
has
colored?
just
Just
cut.
color it
Thank
in
you.
large so everybody can
Thank
see
you.
it. I can't see it.
So the
Brushed my glasses last
special,
week, and I'm flying blind until I get new ones.
so this wetland setback, this first special exception, was strictly having to do with the, no, it actually, the hammerhead's
Yeah,
included.
the
in there.
hammerhead is also, so,
All right, so you're
again,
just you're gonna take out the generator pad,
yeah.
so
So our responses would be the same. The Conservation Commission review has been done for the driveway. And, you know, the foundation's where it is, you need a turnaround, so that's where they've put it. As I said, we'd make it either gravel or some kind of
yeah,
porous
it
pavement.
would have to be porous.
Yeah.
It just would have to be.
The third requirement is restoration of the site as nearly as possible to original grade and condition, which we commit to do. Certainly that will be overseen by the Building Inspection Department. State wetlands permits obtained when required. I know we have shoreland. Do we need anything else, Corey?
We do need a wetlands permit, yeah, and that's noted on the plan under note, where is it? Note 3.
So we would request any approval to be conditioned upon, before any construction or building permit is issued, that we provide documentation of the wetland permit being issued. So those are the requirements for that. Now the wetland crossing and for the septic lines from the tank out to the leach field, same issues, Conservation Commission review, which you have.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I got to go back to that hammerhead.
Yeah,
On this. So our paper here, your original that you read, says the 13.5 feet, and you're amending that to 6.6 feet. So that would be on page 3 of his sheet. So on page 3, where he's reading, about midway, it says that special exception for placement of driveway within 13.5 feet of a wetland buffer. That is actually 6.6 feet
yeah, and it's
of
in
the
my,
wetland buffer. So that's your hammerhead. So that is a question that we might as well just discuss. So that is your hammerhead there, and it's the stone wall that I can see on the colored map. And it would be 6.6 feet to the stone wall, or just beyond where the wetland is,
It would be 6.6 feet to the wetland.
to the
And
wetland.
the
So it
stone
would,
wall is
a little
this side
over
of the
this.
wetland.
Actually, it's just on the other side of the stone wall, I believe, at that
Right.
point. And this water or wetland has increased since, was it 2007?
2000, yes, 8 was when we were
Yeah.
here before.
So, and it was noted somewhere in your paperwork that it was an increase of a certain number of feet that it has encroached since 2008. So in a 10-year period, it's moved forth.
It's varied, yeah, a couple feet. The most I'm not sure, it's just, it's grown. The wetland is grown,
It's grown.
which is pretty typical when vegetation is removed. You know, during construction in 2008, cleared for the house, the foundation, the leach field, you remove that vegetation, you lose that, you know, evapotranspiration of the vegetation, and the wetland typically grows.
Right, and I'm just, in going out there, I think I've been out there 3 times now. It's kind of like a pond, but it's probably more of a basin catch area that's to the right. If you were it's in the tan spot to the right of,
There's a low
like
point.
that roadway when you're driving in.
Yep, there's a low point right there where collector.
Yeah, and then over before that, on the road coming in, that road looked like the water encroached upon it from that sitting body of water to the right of the road surface, or the driveway access, and I wondered, because the water was high out there just about each time I've been out there, and I noticed on conservation that they were saying that the type of tree would indicate a dryness, and yet I really did not see any dryness, especially from winter. I know we're, and I don't know if we're having a particularly wet winter, more unusual than normal. It just seems like there's an awful lot of moisture out there, and with 6.6 feet on the hammerhead, that's awful close. And the reason you need the hammerhead, obviously, is for fire and for turning around, or is the hammerhead really necessary? That would be my question.
It certainly makes it more safe for a couple of reasons. As you alluded to, you know, emergency vehicles are a place to turn around, and backing out of the garage, there's a place to turn around, so you don't have to back all the way out the driveway into the neighbor's property. So it's a much safer thing to have that turnaround. We like to see all driveways with it, and design all homes with driveways with some sort of turnaround.
Boy, I wish we could flip it, put the hammerhead butting up against the septic tank.
And that's the problem. The septic tank goes on that side, so we put the turnaround on the other side. You know,
It's so close.
yeah, I mean,
I'd rather, yeah, I would not want the septic tank on the wet side.
No.
that was our thought. Get it as far away from the wetland as possible.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question? This is a point of clarification. Is the reason the wetland setback on the septic design plan is different than the environmental impact because one was done by a wetland scientist and one was not?
No, the wetland changed. So at
Migration.
the time of the septic design, that was the edge of wetland, but today, that wetland is bigger. If you look at the dates on the
From
plan.
June to July, it changed that much?
No, what was shown on I think on that septic design, we showed the old wetland because the new delineation wasn't done until March 1, 2018. So the septic plan,
The septic plan is dated 6/11/2018.
okay, well, when it was drawn, it was
old
showed the old wetland. Yeah, we didn't update it. When we caught it and realized the wetland has grown, it's bigger. And that's why we show the wetland on the environmental impacts plan bigger.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
incorrect.
Correct, the wetlands on that plan are now incorrect.
We'd have to ask on that.
The ones on the environmental impacts are correct.
Yes.
Linda would have to give you the history on that for the 2007.
So this board does not have an accurate septic design plan.
The design is accurate, just the wetlands on it are not. However, that septic plan has not been submitted to the state yet. So, in other words, the design is correct, but what needs to happen is the new wetlands need to be added to that plan.
Okay. And that will be done
That's-
before it's...
I realize that's confusing, I apologize.
No, that's fine, I just
I mean, isn't
can
that
see
the reason they're
the
here?
difference. And so when this is submitted,
The new wetlands will be on there, yes.
Ask Linda for clarification on that, just because it'd be worth asking.
I was just, what was the original variance from 2008?
For a home on a 1.9 acre lot where
Undersized
2
lot.
acres is required.
And at that time, the septic or whatever, that was something that the other person went ahead and just was digging on, is that, am I right?
don't follow the question.
There was something about rectifying something that had not been approved or,
Oh, and the
Going
Conservation
back-
Commission letter, can you address, there was,
yeah,
Some comments.
conservation.
Step back for 1 second, because that, the variance from back was relative to frontage, not lot size.
oh, I took it, I just read it just sitting here now, and the,
Oh, really?
maybe it was, but that,
It was some non-conforming issue with the lot, whether it
Well,
was
I have-
size or frontage,
But since then, the foundation has already been put in, so.
it
foundation.
doesn't have frontage, that's
leach field.
true, too.
Yeah, I think it was a frontage variance.
Yeah, well, what we were just looking at was the RSA, which rescinded, or anything after, prior to 2013 that had not been exercised within 2 years would be nullified, expired.
Well, my response to that is that the foundation was put in, so I feel like we complied, it wasn't finished, but,
Right.
you know, we,
It was undertaken.
yeah.
And Linda, you were noting,
It was both, 1.9 acre lot and frontage. I have
What
that.
year was it?
2008.
Because we did, oh, I can look at the zoning ordinance.
October 29th, 2008 was my letter, and the date of my letter, submission letter. Article 3, Section 3.02, erection of a home and garage on 1.9 acres where 2 is required, and 3.01, Article 3, Section 3.01, house lot with driveway from private Kramis Lane where 150 feet is required.
And that was what?
2008. I submitted it October 2008. And when I was
The only
contacted,
reason I'm saying that, we changed the non-conforming lot in '07 that, maybe the lot wasn't created, was the lot originally created before March of 1974?
I thought it was.
Oh, well then that explains it, sorry.
I want to say it was
Well,
66.
Oh, March of '08. But both of those allow a lot of 80,000 or greater. But we don't need to go back over that, doesn't matter. They got the variance in. Maybe it
worked
wasn't,
pretty hard to go back 10 years, 11 years. When my client contacted me, or maybe Corey contacted me, I didn't even remember doing this 10 years ago. Any more questions on the?
I do,
turnaround?
for clarity on what you were just asking about, you were looking at the septic tank distance to the boundary and wondering why one was one and one was the other, so I just wanted clarity. I've got on the June 2018 of 11 feet from septic tank to lot line, is that correct, 11 feet?
Yeah, it's 11 feet to the property line.
So that is the adjusted, so that is the,
That's correct.
all right, so first one there was generator pad, placement of septic tank. And placement of septic tanks, no other ways for generator. All right, so this first special exception on the wetland setback is not that generator, or that septic tank thing. That's coming up.
That's the driveway. The septic
That's
is the
coming-
variance.
That's coming up.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
we've covered, we've talked about the driveway. You've asked questions. I don't know if you have
So
more.
it's gonna be porous,
Porous, and we
no
don't,
generator pad at this point in
no
time.
generator pad.
The hammerhead is 6.6 feet and.
But,
Well,
I switch the hammer.
so we've got so much going on in the wetland setback, and,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to pick on the hammerhead, it's just kind of the job.
Yeah,
And I thought if I flipped it right over,
Yeah.
you know, it's so close to the septic tank, but it really would be running over the septic tank. If we put it farther out, I kind of
The hammerhead?
Here,
Go past the septic tank?
yeah, exactly. Because I almost rather, in this circumstance, I'd almost rather go for a 20-foot setback on the boundary line than I would within the
I
wetland.
would suggest that members do not design anything for an applicant ever.
Yeah,
Make
Matt.
those
Yeah,
suggestions.
Matt.
I didn't see that.
So then what I would rather say is, I think there might be an alternative.
There you go.
Consider reconfiguring the hammerhead.
Move the
So
shed.
what we would probably do, is put the hammerhead where the septic tank is and move the septic tank out, down towards the leach field.
That'd be a win-win. Yeah, I think that's us doing our due diligence, trying to get everything
Can you
out
make
of
that work?
whatever setback that we possibly can, you know, and yeah, it's definitely
So
better.
we would be fine with that stipulation. The question I have is, the driveway now, we need to know the distance the driveway will be.
From
It
that.
looks like it's gonna be back to the 13 or something there, but maybe even a little further. Can you estimate that?
Yeah, it's gonna be,
Is one of these more halfway or two?
Just so nice to see the ruler and drawing.
Driveway closest to the wetland.
you're looking for the
You
distance
guys
from
are
the
gonna
driveway
mix
to the
up the
property
papers,
line,
you
right?
can't share.
Driveway to the property line and this, if you take that off, how far to the wetland?
So driveway to the property line would be about 14 feet,
What about
And
the
then-
insiders?
then driveway to wetland at its closest point would be about 12 feet.
So, according to Corey, what
13.
moving the hammerhead would do is it means that the driveway is now about 14 feet from the property line and 12 feet from the wetland. So the 14 feet is still more distant than the, well, I don't know, what will that do to the septic tank?
Septic tank we can maintain at 11 feet by moving it northeast. So that would still require the relief, 11 feet from the property line. And the relief to the driveway would be 12 instead of 6.6.
Is the board, it sounds like the board is comfortable with these concepts. Are you comfortable with all these, moving things around while we're talking about them?
Could you, with your little red light there, just indicate, so the hammerhead comes where the septic tank is.
Right, then the septic tank slides this way.
Slides this way. So the septic tank still is 11 feet.
Right.
And the hammerhead would be, you said 12?
Be about 13, 14 feet off that property line.
Okay.
About 13
And the
feet
other side is 12 feet
to
from
the wetlands.
from the rocks, essentially.
Yeah, so that edge of driveway to the wetlands would be about 12 feet.
And the wetlands buffer was what?
20.
20, which is better than it was.
Now, if you go a little bit further down from that hammerhead, a little bit down, you see a little green tree, a little green bush right there on your drawing. Almost.
Towards the water or?
That one right there.
Okay.
Is the wetland right there?
The wetland comes, yeah,
Is
it
that
goes
what I'm
almost
looking at?
right through that.
Okay, now, I'm thinking of other options. From that wetland to the driveway, do you have 20 feet or do you have more, do you know?
You have more,
You have more than 20 feet there.
yeah. The
So-
only drawback to that is, you know, for safety purposes, picture you're driving into this garage. And the purpose of the turnaround is so as soon as you back out, you turn around and can go forward. You could put the hammerhead down here, but now you're backing out.
No, he's not talking about the
I'm not
hammerhead.
talking about a hammerhead.
He's talking about the
I'm
septic.
just, no.
No?
I'm just talking about making the driveway wider down there, enough to turn around. I have a big enough driveway, I don't need a hammerhead, I can just back out and then kind of go, and I don't have a hammerhead. You know, if you're within that 20 feet, just making the driveway wider, let's say, and if you've got the room for an extra 6, 8, 10 feet maybe, I don't know what the distance is there.
Yep.
Why even bother with a hammerhead if we have enough room to, you know, go do that?
Not a bad suggestion. The only negative to that is, by making the driveway wider, you're adding more impervious area, more runoff into the wetlands.
Okay.
It'll be permeable.
Well, it would be permeable, but
More
it would
impact,
be,
Okay.
less vegetation.
right,
Right, yeah.
less to hold moisture, more to
Exactly.
just,
Yeah, so I mean, it's a good suggestion, it could be done. If the site wasn't so sensitive, I think I would
it is a sensitive.
agree with that, but here we're trying to get as much green space as we
Right,
possibly can.
yeah. No, I didn't think of that, thank you.
With this many deviations to the plan in front of us, I mean, not to have them keep coming back, but we really couldn't,
You need a plan with everything that
yeah.
is agreed upon
Right.
to vote on.
So let's,
especially-
let's
Keep
let's
going?
keep going through the discussion, and then I'm gonna suggest we continue it. We'll submit the updated plan with the changes, so everybody knows, assuming you approve it going forward, this is it, instead of having to, you know, figure it out from words.
Yep, that's great.
So, we've addressed the generator pad's gone, the driveway.
No, just a point of clarification, we keep saying the generator pad's gone. My recollection is
Withdrawn.
It's moved.
You're gonna
Yeah.
move it 20 feet away.
but we're gonna
It's
keep
gone
it
from
on
the-
You don't
site.
need anything
Okay.
from us.
It's gone from the request.
Yeah.
Let's see, we've talked about there's really no other place to put the septic line, and, because it's gotta get out to that leach field. So, that's Conservation Commission review, minimize adverse impacts, which we are and will restore. Third is restore, we will restore it. We have shoreland, but we need wetland permit.
Pressurized service line, travel 104. So that is where we've got that area that's already torn up. Is it, and that concrete drain structure, does that have any bearing on this pressurized line, or?
No.
So will that existing concrete drain structure remain there?
Yes.
And that torn up, that apparent disturbed area, wetland impact, that is something you're proposing to bring back to what it possibly was or should be?
No, that's, we're seeking for a permit for that, after-the-fact permit.
After the fact permit, so that's the, okay.
Oh, that was what you were referring to.
Right.
Right, okay.
Yeah, there was something about something that had been done without permit. All right, so this 104-foot pressurized line runs straight out, it runs under the driveway and goes out back to where there is already a concrete or leach field structure up there?
Correct.
So that is already there. And again, up here is existing distribution box, existing drain field. So no changes up there with, other than making the land more healed, I guess would be my term for it. Because again, we don't, like you said, you don't know exactly what it was like, but you can heal it to the best of the ability up there, so that would be fixed. So there's nothing, no new excavation or anything up and back there.
The only excavation that might be required there is, given the age of that leach field, we may need to replace it, but it would be the same size in the same location.
Okay. And I'm assuming it's never been used,
Right.
so age, huh?
Well, it's not
Get roots and stuff growing in there.
exactly,
sometimes, and
exactly,
It has to be checked.
Nature takes over.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, so 104.7 pressurized service line. And that would warrant, and I go back to the generator, the need for a generator, because it's a pressurized service line,
Exactly.
pump system. So you essentially would have to have it in order to have household needs, no?
You wouldn't need necessarily to have it. It wouldn't come back at you. It just means you can't flush. Yeah. What happens is so much volume gets into the tank, trips the trigger.
It pumps
pushes
out.
everything else up. Yep.
So it doesn't pump every time, it's just when it gets to a certain point. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
But it'd be handy to have a generator.
Result of disturb 104 square feet. The area disturbed wetland crossing is 10 feet. So the wetland crossing is specifically where? Is that by that concrete?
Right there, see the yellow?
Oh, okay.
You can't see it in front of you very well, but there's a yellow-green area. The wetland, this wetland actually comes
Gotcha.
across and down here, and it's 10 feet wide right in there.
I did not go read, what was the last one?
I just went on Friday and they marked out actually, like they said the last meeting,
Yeah.
right where that wetland crossing was.
Okay,
So they marked everything out with the stakes and everything. So it
Okay,
was nice
good.
to see it.
I'll get a chance to go back out there
Yeah.
before next visit, yeah. Thank you for marking that.
Yeah.
So, the only thing we haven't talked about is the variance request for the septic tank. But we're also gonna now need a variance request because we're gonna have a turnaround. Do you want me to go through the variance requests now, or just stop here, continue it, do the new plan, and I'll argue it all at once?
I think probably be cleaner if we did it all at once.
Right.
Okay.
I
So you
mean,
did all the
your
special
construction
exceptions now, right, is that what you're saying?
No, we can't.
No,
Oh,
no,
no, we can't, never mind, never mind.
Until,
Right, but
Okay, so you
But-
got
next,
water, you got 75
it
feet,
would be,
the well.
because the map's gonna change quite a bit.
right,
So those special exceptions we can sign off on, and then,
we'd be
because the
starting
driveway's
fresh.
gonna change.
Right, we'd be starting fresh with variance, basically. The
Yeah.
special exceptions, we'd be voting on the special exceptions, but we wouldn't be going back and having this whole deep debate on the special exceptions next meeting. right?
No, I think we vote on special exceptions next.
Yeah, so we'll vote on those and then basically start fresh with the variances.
I got you.
That's
Is that going the right way?
Yeah, yeah.
I
Okay.
would feel, yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
I've ever said this in my career that I want a continuance when I think I've got you where I want you, and I think you're okay with most of this stuff. But I just, and I know Corey feels the same,
God,
there's
that's
just
where
too
you
much
want
changing
us.
on this to,
Right, yeah, we'd have to.
Absolutely.
so.
Well, I know the town appreciates, speaking for the board, I hope so to say that these changes, I think,
Make it a better,
drastically
make it a better
help
plan.
the scenario. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Stop that.
So then, at this point, I will formally request a continuance for next month.
All right, and that's the, so we're at the point where we've got, for the septic is a variance, and then that, after the fact, is that a separate thing that we're doing?
That's state, just state, right?
Stay.
Yeah, I don't think any
Just
relief
in
here is
there.
necessary.
Okay, and I just want to see if there were any other questions before they leave.
Yeah, that
May I
would
make
be
a suggestion that, just that all dimensions be added? Like, some are gonna go away here, like that 11 feet isn't on this.
Sure.
Yeah,
Like,
that's,
whatever the,
yeah.
like the tank or whatever is a boundary setback.
We'll put all of it on.
There was something about the well. The well had the 75-foot radius and that,
Yeah, the Conservation Commission had a concern that the
Yeah.
well was too close to Jennis Pond.
right.
There is ample room to move it back to maintain 50 feet from Jennis Pond.
Yeah, judging from the migration of the wetlands and the shoreline of late, I don't think it would hurt to consider that, as we go back out and walk and see that radius. So it just seems like, you're right down there.
Yeah, agreed. We'll slide it back.
Any other questions?
How soon does the board, well, maybe I should say, how soon can it be provided?
The plans, we can,
Before the next meeting, so we can distribute it to them?
What we would tend to do, because it's not a new submission, so there's not a submission deadline, is however far before your hearing you give the new packets to the board, we'd get them to you.
Right, I'm just wondering how soon if they could have them a week or 10 days before the meeting?
certainly.
Is that doable?
Yeah, we can have the
Because
plans
that's what
done.
they usually like to get.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to dump it on you the day before, so yeah,
Right,
so
that's all we're,
we'll say 10 days before the
give
hearing?
a chance so we can send it
So-
out to them.
They could have the option of March or April.
Yeah, we'll see. If we don't get it, then we can move it to April. It's not gonna
Ask
be-
for continuance,
It's not going to
yes.
be building, so.
Continue it till March.
Right, we're gonna continue it to March.
But right now, it's got to be a
Oh,
date
really
certain.
We got to
reasonably-
vote on that first.
What's the date in March?
Same day, right?
I think,
Same-
yeah, this is what
same
the
day of the
mayor-
month?
Yes.
All right.
28 days.
I'd like
It'll be
to-
first on the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to continue case 1811.
My anniversary too.
Oh, is that, oh, we can't do it on your anniversary, no. So it
To
is,
March 25th,
Oh,
2019.
we need 4 people.
I will second
Can
that.
people come?
30.
We need 4
Celebrate
people?
Sunday night.
Actually, won't,
It's his anniversary, what anniversary is it?
won't Curtis-
No, I mean, what number?
Early,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not a milestone, it's not a 5 or a 10? It's not a 5 or a 10, you can count. 5s and 10s, you have to remember.
Later. I'll second that motion.
I don't know, it's an early one, yeah.
He's seconding the motion, so he'll be here.
So, I seconded it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Thank you, thank you for your patience, you know, we don't like to do it, make it confusing, but this was a helpful discussion.
I thank you so much for, you know, fielding questions and stuff, that's great.
It's just easier.
You like it, yeah.
What I'll do next month is, and what I typically do, and I forgot, my apologies, is I bring enough little ones to hand out, and I'll do that next month.
Do you do that right in the program, too, the architect's program?
Yeah, so it'll just be that plan, but a little one you can have in front of you.
Very good.
1 hour.
Doing internal business.
Is there a summer session or something that I received an email on? Like the zoning thing that we had last, zoning and planning board conference?
June, I think. It's late this year. I'll check on that thing.
Yeah, I had gotten an email
I
on it,
had one of those save the dates, but I haven't gotten anything since then.
but I love going and learning new things, and yeah, I love going and learning new things, so I think that would be fabulous. So zoning board the 25th, and these little phones are so handy for pictures and stuff.
I'm like the last holdout. I still don't have
You need to sign.
Any,
Is there any adjournment motion?
hold on, I'll make a motion to adjourn to March 25th.
Do I have a second?
Is it 25th, March 25th?
Yeah, that's kind of a given. We're adjourning to the next one.
Need to find,
Folks are here, did they want to come?
You can
do
program,
you
right?
just here for, see how interesting we are?
Yeah, I was just viewing.
Cool. I think that's excellent.
Are you 18? No.
You want to be on the board? Yeah, we're
We
gonna.
need board members.
Come on, please. Come on.
Didn't show up and they didn't. Have a great night.
Hi.
Are you sure you don't want to stay?
So you just came for interest?
Okay.
You just came for interest, or you're writing a paper about us?
No, not a paper. It's for high school. It's a component to get for my senior component.
Oh, awesome. Learning about government, is that what it is? So,
Or just to come to a town meeting or sit on a town meeting.
zoning board or something?
Done, Gary.
Did you think it was interesting?
Yeah, I took some stuff. So,
There's a lot, they give us all these books and stuff, and then they expect us to read.
We made a motion.
What's
We made
called
a motion. Please got second. Aye.
So it's like we just volunteer, but we